Hey guys, my name's Amy, and today, instead of showing you my monthly plant favourites, I thought I would talk about my overall favourites in my collection. I narrowed it down to 15, which is quite hard. But yeah, 15 plants. Most of them are long-standing favourites, but there are a few newer ones here to show you as well. All of these are plants that I would recommend to anyone for a variety of reasons, whether that's really fast rewarding growth, really unique foliage, or just being really low maintenance and easy care. So let's get started. The first plant I'm going to show you today is one that if you've watched some of my previous videos you might have seen before. This is my Hoya Matilde. I got this as a rooted cutting on eBay a few years ago, and it took a little while to take off, but once it did, it's been a really fast grower for me. I've taken lots of cuttings, they're all sort of rooted in the back, so it's a lot shorter this side. But it's just such a staple in my collection now. I adore the leaves. They're really cute, small, like dark green glossy leaves with like really delicate splashing on them. I think this was sold as a super splash. I don't know if it is a super splash, but I don't really mind. I quite like that it's quite a delicate sort of freckling of splash. Hoya are pet friendly plants, which is a really big tick from me, and they're really low maintenance as well, or a lot of varieties are really low maintenance. This is quite a succulent variety of Hoya, so it doesn't require lots of watering, and I can just sort of hang it near a window so it gets good light, and it's quite happy to be neglected. It has bloomed for me once or twice, and it has got loads of peduncles on it at the moment that aren't progressing too much, but they're there, and I'm hoping that soon they will activate because there is just loads. Try and find a few for you. If I've got a picture of the blooms, I'll pop it in here, but we've also got some lovely new growth going on. I took lots of cuttings and took it off a trellis, and I wondered if it would slow its growth down, but I don't think it has. It's still growing pretty far down the tendrils, and I think they're a lot more accessible now as well. When I see cuttings of them on places like eBay and Etsy, they're a bit more affordable, and if you can only find unrooted cuttings, definitely give it a go. They've proved really easy to root for me. You can either pop them in water or some kind of perlite or sphagnum prop box, and they're pretty fast to root. I took quite a few cuttings recently and I don't think I had any failures. I'm pretty sure they all rooted, and I was able to give some of them away as well, which is really nice because this isn't like a super common, like you wouldn't find it in a garden centre. At least I've never seen them in garden centres before in the UK, where I'm in the UK. Absolutely love this one. I'm so happy with it. Really, really cool. This is Hoya Matilde. Oh no. Oh. Next up, this is a slightly newer plant in my collection. This is a Favourite Aquatica, and this was a wedding gift that we got in June or July, I think. So I've only had it for a few months now, but it very quickly rose to be one of my absolute favourite plants. I'm not really sure why I'd never had it before, as this is also a pet-friendly plant, but I'm just so happy to have it. I love watching the new growth come through. It's quite hard to show you. There's a nice one. Really cute. I love watching the new leaves come through. And this one always makes me think of, I don't know if you guys ever watched The Land Before Time. When you were kids, it's a little dinosaur cartoon, and they call leaves tree stars, and that's what this plant makes me think of. That was one of my favourite movies when I was a kid, so I love this so much. It's been really easy as well, because it's got quite thick trunks to it. It doesn't want a lot of watering, so again, this one can handle a bit of neglect. You'll see the leaves start to droop when it is thirsty, so it's a good visual indication. And it's been really fast growing. I'll have to try and look to see if I've got any pictures or videos from when we first got this, because I'm pretty sure it has gotten a fair bit bigger, and it's lovely to have a bit of a larger plant. I think I'm guilty of picking up a lot of cheaper, smaller plants to add to my collection, so to have a much larger one is really nice, and to have one that started off so large as well. Really gorgeous. I love the leaf shape. It's not really like anything else I have in my collection. Yeah, that is my Favourite Aquatica. Next up, this is another older plant from my collection. I've had this for somewhere between 2 and 3 years, and it's been a favourite ever since I got it. This is the Prosia Lingua tongue fern, and just look at the texture of those leaves. This is one that I didn't have an ID for the longest time, and one of you guys commented to let me know what it was, so I'm so happy to know what this is called now, because I love it so much, and I've never seen them in garden centres since I bought this one. I absolutely adore the texture of the leaves, and they're so dark and glossy, and for a fern it's really, really low maintenance. I think because the leaves are quite thick. If I show you here, I'm adding pressure and it's not really budging. It's a really, really thick, hardy fern, so it doesn't require loads of like watering, a ton of humidity. I just sort of wait until the pot starts to feel quite light and the top of the soil looks dry, and then I'll give it a water. And because it is a fern, and a very dark leafed fern as well, it doesn't require really bright light, so it's very like adaptable in where you can put it. I've moved it around several places in our home and it's been absolutely fine everywhere. I think the only thing it wouldn't like is really, really direct light, but just so gorgeous and low maintenance. And most ferns are pet friendly, so I'd imagine this one is as well. So gorgeous. I love this one. This is sort of everything I look for in a plant, really. And it's been quite a fast-ish grower for me. I would say it's probably at least doubled in size since I got it, possibly more. Again, I'll have to try and look for a picture. There's a lovely new leaf. I'll try and find a picture from when I first brought this one home. But yeah, that is the Prosia Lingua tongue fern. Next up, this is another plant that I got this year. This is a Seena Sandriana, or I think they're also sold as Lucky Bamboo. And I've had this one since May because we ended up using it in my wedding bouquet. So as well as being just a really, really pretty plant, it's got a lot of sentimental value to it as well. I will never get rid of this one, and I hope I can keep it happy for a very long time. As it's a Dracaena, I should think that would be fine. They're usually pretty low maintenance, and this one hasn't given me any trouble so far. It's really different to sort of anything else I have in my collection. I have a few variegated plants, but not tons. But I really love the variegation on these leaves, and I love the growth pattern of it as well. I love that it's sort of more of an upright grower, so it doesn't take up too much sort of space width-wise. You can sort of fit it in anywhere. Again, I've given this one a variety of lighting conditions, and it's been really happy in all of them. It doesn't require a lot of watering. Again, that seems to be a theme here today. So yeah, really low maintenance, really, really affordable. I think each one of these was maybe £2 or £3. Obviously they were a bit smaller, but really, really affordable, and just such a pretty grower. I love the structure as well. You can't really see it too well with so many plants behind it, but I love the structure of it. And yeah, one that makes me smile every time I look at it. That is Seena Sandriana. Next up, again, if you've watched any of my videos before, you've probably seen this one. This is my Hoya Polyura, and I'm really happy to be able to show you this now because I can update you on the blooms. Look at those. Just look at those. There's a couple there. It's so big it's hard to see. There's another one under there. Oh, I know there's more somewhere. There's one in there. So happy that it's bloomed for me. Oh, it's so hard to hold. I'm getting my knee up, I can rest it on there. Absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so happy that it's bloomed. Yeah, Hoya Polyura, this is one that I've had for I think about 3 years, and I got it as a 2-leaf cutting and it didn't do anything for a long time. But this is another one that once it started growing, it just hasn't stopped. It's really taken off. I can't recommend this enough to people. I've got some more blooms popping in at the back there. I'll take some pictures so that you can see them a bit better quality, because they're really, they look like little sweets. I don't think I've smelt these yet, actually. They're just really delicate smell, but very sweet. I would say out of the Hoya I have, this one, I mean, I found it once it started growing, I found it a really easy plant, but this isn't one that wants to dry out as much as some other varieties, so that is something to bear in mind. But it's been really fun to watch it grow. It's really fun to propagate as well. I've taken a few cuttings, again, they're all sort of potted up in the back there. This is just such a wonderful plant. I'm so happy with how it's done. This is just such a statement plant in my home. it lives sort of next to our TV. I would love to come up with a space for it where it can really sort of just shine, but that might be something I look into doing next year. It's gotten so long now. I think next year I'll take a few more cuttings to either add to the pot or give to friends and family. It's just really easy to propagate, and it's nice to get to give people slightly harder to come by plants. This is fairly accessible to get cuttings online in the UK. I think, again, they're a bit cheaper than they used to be. Again, I've given this one quite a variety of light conditions. At the moment it's in a slightly lower light setting than I would like it to be, but that's just because it's gotten so big. I'm kind of limited with where I can put it, but it seems to be doing really well there. Maybe depending on where you live, it might struggle with really, really hot direct sunlight, unlike some other Hoya that can handle it. But that's not something that we have to worry about too much here in the UK. But yeah, if you don't have this and you have the opportunity to get your hands on one, I can't recommend it enough. It is so incredible. Another look at those blooms in there. Really, really pretty. So that is my not Hoya Matilde, this is my Hoya Polyura. Next up, this is my strawberry begonia, or Saxifraga stolonifera. And this one is a bit of a surprise to me. It was just an add-on on an eBay purchase to another plant I was buying, because it was only a couple of quid and it didn't affect the postage. I didn't expect to fall in love with it so much, but I adore it. I think it's so unique. I really love the markings on the leaves. It's got pink hairs going all the way up the leaves and the stems. I don't know how well they're going to show up, and it puts out these stolons, I think they're called, a lot like a spider plant, that you then get babies on the end, and it didn't take very long for it to start producing those. I haven't removed any of them yet. I don't know if I will, or if I'll let them sort of just hang off the mother plant, because I think it looks really, really cool like that, and I love it in this pot as well. But I do think I'm probably going to have to up pot it at some point, because that's not very much room. But yeah, I just didn't expect to love this one so much. You know, I liked it when I saw it, but I didn't expect it to become one of my favourites overall. But it's really cool. I can't really think of too much else to say with it. I got it maybe in September, I think, so I've not had it for very long, but so far it's been just a joy to grow, really. It's pushed out a fair few new leaves in the centre and those little babies that I showed you. I'm really tempted at some point, I think, to get the variegated one and to give that one a go, because I've just enjoyed growing this one so much. It's so pretty, and again, really, really unique. I don't have anything that looks anything like this in my collection. And another one that would be fun, if you are able to get it to grow these babies, you can then either leave them like I think I'm going to, you can propagate them to have more, or fill out the mother plant, or get to give them as gifts to friends and family. This isn't one that I think I would neglect. I don't like to let it fully dry out for too long. It gets, I would say, medium light. It's a couple of feet away and sort of to an angle from a window that gets afternoon light. But so far I haven't had any issues with it. I've not had any pests, even though there's been a few thrippy plants near it. I don't think they've gone for this, which is nice. And I'm just excited to watch it grow. Hopefully it gets a lot bigger. That would be amazing. And yeah, I think I might have to get myself the variegated one at some point soon. But that is the strawberry begonia, or Saxifraga stolonifera. This is one that I've had for a little while as well. This is a Ascananthus. I'm not sure if it's the Marmoratus or the Longicalis, but it's the Black Pagoda lipstick plant. And as you can see, this is one with just absolutely incredible foliage. It's so unique in its pattern, and the backs are even cooler than the fronts, really. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's a fairly easy bloomer. I don't know if you can see, there's a couple of tiny blooms just starting to pop up on this. Oh, there's one. There's a good one. There's one of the blooms. Really, really cool. Not as showy as some of the other lipstick plant blooms, but I think that's where the foliage comes in. I got this one as a rooted cutting on eBay as well, and considering the state that it arrived in, it's bounced back really well. This plant has gone through quite a lot. It was a smaller sort of, I think maybe 3 pieces or so about this big that were rooted, but the way the seller had sort of packaged them, I had 2 other plants with it as well. They were just thrown in a bag and then put in a box, but everything was really wet, so it had just created a lot of mold and rot, I think, from being boxed up in such a humid environment. So I ended up having to chop and reroot this plant altogether, and it took a long while for it to bounce back. It didn't, you know, it rooted fine, but it didn't grow at all for quite a long time. But this year it's been really taking off. So I definitely call this a very resilient plant. Unfortunately the sun's gone in a bit, so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see how just incredible these leaves are. This is another pretty easy care plant. I sort of wait until some of the mature leaves feel really thin before I give it a water, but I hang it in our back door that gets sort of really direct morning light, and it seems to be really happy there. Now that it's growing, it has been such a fast grower. Again, if I can find any pictures of it a bit smaller, I will include them. But it's just so unique. Again, I feel like I've said this about so many of the plants today, but again, it's not like anything else I have in my collection. And I love that lipstick plants are very frequent bloomers. There's loads on here, but they're all quite small, so I don't know if they're gonna show up on camera. You can maybe see a few in there. Really cool. I'm really happy that I sort of stuck with it, even though it seemed to be quite a struggle plant for a long time. It's definitely rewarded me for that patience. And yeah, that is the Ascananthus, either marmoratus or longicalis, the black pagoda lipstick plant. Next up, I've got a really diddy one here. This is Sedum MAOI, or I think it also goes by the hurricane sedum. And I recently repotted it, so it's looking a little bit awkward at the moment. I think it just needs a few days to sort of settle in. But I just think it's such a cute little plant. I don't really know what I love about it so much, but I really like it. And I grew this one all from cuttings, and I just think it is really cute. Annoyingly, the light I don't think is very good, but hopefully you can see how sweet the new growth comes in. It's really cute. Again, it has got those sort of dark glossy leaves that I really love, so that's probably what draws it to me so much, but it's just, I think it's just really sweet. This is one that has been battling thrips, weirdly. It seems like an odd plant to get thrips, but I don't think it has any at the moment. But I feel like I can never be sure, because I've got quite a few that I have had thrips and I haven't seen thrips on them for weeks, and then, you know, they come back. But hopefully this one is thrip free. Really gorgeous. I see them a lot in garden centres, and I'm always tempted to buy a bigger pot of them because I love them so much, but I have been really loving watching this one grow, as it started from a couple of really small cuttings and has done really well for me. And it's just, yeah, really sweet. It's a succulent, so it's pretty low maintenance. It's been, again, in a couple of different light situations. I actually think this one seemed to struggle a bit in really direct light in the summer. It's doing a bit better now in the winter, but it's definitely been in sort of more medium, maybe even close to low light situations, and has still been happy. But because it's a succulent, it doesn't require loads of sort of watering, so it's another easy little plant, and it's just really cute. Absolutely adore it. That is Sedum MAOI. Next up, this is very heavy because I've just watered it, so it's quite hard to hold, but this is a Stomium FAL, or a holly leaf fern. And I think this one is probably what I'd say is my ultimate favourite plant in my collection. It's been a favourite for such a long time. I've had this for maybe 4 years, might be 3, but I think it's probably closer to 4. And I just adore it. It's kind of like the fern version of the Hoya Polyura, I think. That's what it reminds me of. But it is a really hardy fern, which for one of these sort of more leafy ferns, I think is quite unusual. It's a lot bigger than when I first got it, and it would have been even bigger, but I ended up chopping off a lot of the fronds because they were fertile fronds and they were dropping spores everywhere, so I did end up removing quite a few. but I think next time I might try and propagate them, see if I can grow them from spores, and let you know how that goes. Again, this has been in a variety of locations in our flat and it's been happy in all of them. I've not had any pest issues with it. I'm gonna have to touch wood for that one because I love this so much. I'd be gutted, I think, if this one did get something. But I just think it is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's a really cool plant in terms of sort of interior design. It just looks really, really lovely placed on a table. Hopefully you can see, I don't know that you will be able to see, there's some spores on some of these leaves. So we have, yeah, a few more mature fronds or fertile fronds that maybe at some point, yeah, I will try and see if I can grow them from spores, because I've never done that before. And I think that would be really, really interesting. So yeah, like I said, for a fern, this is actually really quite low maintenance. It doesn't have a really negative reaction if you forget to water it for a day or two too long. It doesn't require really high humidity. Obviously this is in quite a large pot now, so it doesn't need watering so frequently, partly because of that, but I don't think it's ever been super needy with its water. Again, it's a fern, so it's more than likely pet friendly, as most ferns are. The only things you have to look out for are things like the asparagus fern that's not actually a fern and is toxic, but otherwise I'm pretty sure ferns are safe for all of your fur babies and your kids. I'm so proud with how large it's got, and it can put out some really big fronds. You can see that one there. Hi puppy. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I think this may be my favourite plant overall. Absolutely stunning. The Stomium FAL or the house holly fern. Next up I have another Hoya to show you. This is my Hoya Retunda Flora, and this one is on this list I think because of how unique the leaves are, the shape of them. They're sort of these little rectangular funny little leaves, and they're really, really like finely hairy as well, a little bit fuzzy. That's not going to show up on my phone, but yeah, really slightly fuzzy. This is another one that I got as a rooted cutting on eBay. I think it was only a 6-leaf cutting, so it's definitely grown quite a lot since then, but this is a slightly slower grower compared to the other Hoya that I've shown you today. But you can see in there's a tiny new leaf growing. There's some more just there. So what I've noticed with this one is it seems to go through phases of being really quite fast growing. There's more leaves there too. I think now it's in its growing phase where it puts out loads of new baby leaves and then it will stop for a little while and not do anything. But this one, again, ever since I've got it, I've just absolutely adored it, and I think that is because of that really interesting leaf shape. Again, this one has bloomed for me, I think, before, so if I have a picture I'll include it. But it's a very easy care plant. Again, it's a succulent Hoya. This one isn't as vocal in its leaves. It's only once it's really, really dehydrated that you'll start to notice a thinning in the leaves, but if you leave it that long it will bounce back absolutely fine. It would much rather underwatering than overwatering. And although it's not as fast growing as some of the other Hoya I have, it's definitely not too slow growing. There are definitely much slower Hoyas out there. That's a really that's a big leaf there. It's really cute. I love this one so much. Again, not like anything else I have in my collection. I've not really seen anything else like this other than other Hoya, really. I haven't seen other square or rectangular leafed plants before. Really, really cool. I think this one, I think it's slightly easier to get a hold of. I don't think it's as easy as some others have become to attain, but if you are able to get your hands on one, I highly recommend it. It's a really fun, quirky little plant. And it's lovely to watch it grow. The new little leaves are so sweet. So that is Hoya Retunda Flora. Next up is the first Peperomia on this list. I would usually try and spread out the genuses of plants so it's not too many of the same one after the other, but I'm having to leave some of the other Peperomia on this list till the end because they have thrips, so I don't want to mix them in with my other plants. But yeah, this is Peperomia Hope, and this is one I've had. I might have had for about 5 years, to be fair. I think this one is quite old in my collection, and I got it for free. I was in a garden centre and I found a massive piece of it broken off on the floor. It was sort of one stem that split off into 3. It's probably about that big. And so I went round the shop looking to see if I could find the peperomia it came off, because I was wanting to buy one and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I ended up asking the sales assistant there if I could take it home, and he said that was fine. So yeah, I managed to get this one for free and I've just adored it ever since. Certainly this year it has really perked up in its growth. It's really puffed out and filled out at the top there. Hi puppy, you got a toy. Whereas for a while it was quite slow growing, but I think that was probably a shock thing because it got root mealybugs, so I ended up having to chop it all off at the base and reroot everything, and I think that just slowed down its growth for a while. But this year it's really taken off. You can see some sweet new leaves there. It's just a really fun little coin-shaped plant, really succulent. So again, it's very low maintenance. It likes fairly high light, and it gives really good visual cues for when it needs a water. You'll notice some of the leaves start to get quite wrinkly. I haven't long since watered this one, so I can't show you that right now. But because it's a very succulent plant, it can handle underwatering really well, and it's fine with a bit of neglect. This is a really common peperomia, so again, it's one that's really easy to come by. It's really easy to propagate as well. You can propagate the whole plant, so if you wanted to chop this stem and you wanted to free up the nodes to root the stem, you can keep the leaves and root those as well, and they will grow into their own new plant as well. So that's really fun when you don't have to sort of waste any of the plant. You can either propagate them in water or a prop box, or I think I've heard some people just stick them straight back in the soil and they root fine like that. Really gorgeous, super attainable and affordable to get your hands on, but just such a lovely, just really cute plant. And once it starts growing, it's pretty fast. I would love to have it really sort of trailing down one day, so fingers crossed. But yeah, that is the peperomia. So we're down to the last 3 plants on this list today. I had to leave these 3 till the end because I know they do have thrips. It seems to be a very mild case, which is good. It just doesn't seem to be going away, which is odd. I'll just find like 1 or 2 every few days. So I'm glad it's not a really bad infestation. I just wish I could fully squash it. But next up is my Peperomia Scandins. And this is one that I've had for quite a while again. I got the variegated one a few years ago and decided I would rather have the non-variegated one, which you can do by leaf propagating. The variegated one, it will revert and give you a green one. So if you want, you can have both by buying just one plant, which is really cool. But this has been just a really fast grower for me, and I just love how wild it looks. I love how large it's gotten. A lot of peperomia don't get to grow very big, whereas this one definitely has the potential to get quite large. And it's really fun to propagate, really easy. I've got a few props again in the bag. I think a lot of my plants are always sort of full on one side and then a bit empty on the other. But I've just, yeah, been absolutely loving this one. Apart from the thrips, it's been really easy care. I just water it when the leaves start to feel really thin and flimsy, and I like to give it quite good light. This one at the moment is getting direct morning light. I don't know if I would give it really harsh sort of afternoon light, but it seems quite happy where it is at the moment. I do think I need to move it though. I've had to move a lot of my sort of thrippy plants into this room because I think what's happening is they're coming through the back door and we have that open. So I'm trying to swap out plants that I don't think thrips would be drawn to live in there, and put the ones that they do seem to like in here where we don't really have a window that we can open. But it's a shame because they are sort of peperomias in general. I love them. It's a shame that I can't have them in the other room where I would see them more, but it's fine. Hopefully we'll get on top of it soon. I think I just need to get some more pest treatments and find the time to sort of really go over them. But yeah, really gorgeous wild plant, minus the pests. It has been really easy care and I can't recommend it enough. I think it's beautiful, and if you can get your hands on the variegated one, you can then have both if you want to, through just getting one plant, which is really cool. So that is Peperomia Scandins. Next up is another peperomia. This is Peperomia Inca, and again I have noticed a couple of thrips on this one, so I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm checking it every couple of days to see if there's any more, but so far so good. I just love this. I think it's so cool. This was a wish list plant of mine pretty much since the start of my sort of plant journey, when I started collecting plants and I realised that I really loved Peperomia. This is one that I always really wanted, and I was able to get my hands on it for a pretty good price earlier this year, a few months ago. So again, it's a little bit new to my collection, but an absolute favourite. I love it so much. This is a Peperomia that can handle really, really bright light, which I like. It's got this really fine felted texture. I think it's also called the felted Peperomia, or the felt tree, or something like that. So it gives this really silvery blue hue to the plant, which is quite unusual for plants in my collection, as I do tend to go for really deep dark green plants. It's nice to have something like this that breaks it up a little bit, and it's really soft. And I love the new leaves. They come through looking really like woolly, because it's so felted. So yeah, this one can handle really bright light. It doesn't need watering very frequently. I just wait until the leaves are a bit like this really. I'd probably leave this another day or two where the leaf is starting to taco in, but just absolutely gorgeous. Again, Peperomia are pet friendly, so that's another reason why I love having them so much. And they're just really unique. There's so much variety in the genus itself. Really affordable. They're usually very attainable, which just makes them really fun to collect. But the Peperomia Incana is just such a staple. It's just such a cute plant, and I'm really happy to finally have it in my collection. And it's been growing really well for me as well. It was only a 2 or 3 leaf cutting when I got it, and it's put out all of this in the last few months. So potentially quite a fast grower. I think I had one of you guys comment that your Peperomia Incana had really taken off and was growing like a weed. So I'm hoping that this does the same. And the last plant on this list today of my absolute top favourite plants overall is my goldfish plant. This is the Nematanthus Radicans. I think that's what it's called. It's a little bit hard to tell whether they're calumnias or Nematanthus, but I think this was sold to me as a Nematanthus. I got this as cuttings off eBay. At the moment I've mixed the variegated ones and the non-variegated into one pot. Don't know if you can see, there's some of the variegated one. I don't think that's showing up on camera, but yeah, got these as unrooted cuttings on eBay, and just over time I've been rooting them, growing them out, chopping them back again and re-rooting them to have this really lovely full pot, which I'm really happy with. I think it's just such a cute plant. I haven't had it bloom for me yet, but fingers crossed one day. This one does also seem to have thrips. This is one of the ones where I hadn't seen thrips on it for weeks, and so I thought, right, okay, I can do what I want to do with it. I can add in the variegated plant, I can add in some cuttings that I'd rooted a while back now that I think the mother plant is thrip free. And as soon as I put them all together, a couple of days later I noticed more thrips on it. So that's a bit frustrating, because now there'll be plants that didn't have pests that possibly do, because I've mixed them all into one pot. But it's fine. Again, it's not a bad infestation, it's just irritating. But other than that, I've really enjoyed growing this plant. I love the look of it. I love the little shiny leaves. I just absolutely adore it. I think it's really cute. I hope it blooms for me one day. If it doesn't, it's fine. I love it anyway. I think this one can be a little bit trickier with the watering. I tend to wait until quite a few of the mature leaves feel a bit thinner, and then I'll give it a water if the soil feels dry as well, because I don't think this one loves to be left really dry for too long, but it definitely doesn't want to be overwatered either. So this one is a little bit trickier. And as for light, I think it tends to get sort of either direct morning light or indirect light. At the moment it's having to live sort of not in its optimal conditions, because I'm trying to keep it away from other plants. If you have a window where you can sort of diffuse really harsh light, I think it would really enjoy that, if you've got sort of a net curtain or something that would diffuse it a little bit. But until the thrips, I hadn't had any issues with this. So hopefully I can fully get rid of them soon and get this plant back to its former glory, because it has lost quite a few leaves and some of the sort of new growth points due to the thrips. But I just love it, and it's weird that it's not super accessible in the UK. I've only ever seen them on eBay as small plants or cuttings. I've never seen them in a garden centre before, so if you're in the UK and you have, do let me know. But yeah, that is the goldfish plant, either a Nematanthus Radicans or possibly a Calumnia, I'm not sure. But yeah, absolutely adore this one. I think it's just adorable. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what your ultimate favourite houseplants in your collection are. Are they completely different to the ones I've shown you today? Are there a couple that I have that are also your favourites? I love hearing people's like different tastes in plants. There's so much variety in the houseplant world that I just love hearing about people's different tastes and what they look for in their houseplants. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe, and if you'd like to find me elsewhere, I'm Amy's Greenish Thumb on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll see you next time. Bye!